vital people with lived experience like Hayley are part of research because it saves time, because a lot of professionals or people that are there to help, if they've not lived it, then they don't know the difficulties and the barriers that people face.
It's so imperative to the services because they can gain that greater understanding of what real life situation for people.
It's authentic when it comes from the addict themselves. There's more emotion, there's connection when it's from the lived experience.
People with lived experience that have been there, they can get down on your level and you can trust them.
You get a new social worker or you get a new drugs worker and you've got to tell your story all over again, and then you just sort of get that relationship with somebody and then they move on and you're like, here I am again.
Some people, when you go into services or when you go to schools, unless they've got direct experience, they have no empathy, so they can't help you. You can't be honest with them. Whereas if you've got someone that's been there and done it, they can really relate to it and have empathy and be able to work around you rather than trying to fit you into a box when not one box fits all.
Women mask as well and we minimise, so we're lying, but not necessarily because we don't want the help. It's the fear of losing the child or the fear of people knowing the truth.
A lot of women won't go to residential rehab because they're frightened of losing the children, and there's no facilities available in the UK. There's maybe like 2 rehabs for women where they can take the children.
I don't know what I need. If there were more research, then the professionals might have a better idea. Asking someone who doesn't know what they need, it's like asking, are you accessing all of the facilities? Well, if you don't know what the facilities are, you think that you're accessing them all.
If you actually researched into how people have got help and what's made the difference, instead of just trying to throw money at things, you need to get back to basics with people.
My issue is weed, and the woman on the thing was drink. Because there's such societal norms, it gets minimised, the severity of it isn't recognised. It's because of that social culture. And I've had the words used, but it's problematic from the drug workers. They don't see the reality of it. They just see the social concepts of it.
It brings me so much hope when I go to these conferences with those academics, or I go to places where there's ex-police officers or social workers or people that haven't necessarily got the lived experience, but they now have empathy for me because they've listened to what's come out of our research. They're going to be listening to this video, and whenever I've been anywhere and talked about research and recovery, that's what people want to hear. They don't want to hear about statistics because you can't really learn from it. The difference in practice it makes is it's like 2 different worlds.
Something that's really important for women in recovery is feeling heard, is feeling validated, is feeling supported by other women that have been in the same situation as them, knowing that you're not alone in that and that there is help available and that it can get better.
So I've actually been taking part in some research and the difference it's made to my self-esteem. So I feel heard, I feel like a normal person, whatever normal is, but it's because I feel like I'm helping instead of being part of the problem.
It's made us feel like we've got a voice and that people are interested in what we're going through, that people will have a greater understanding of our situation and loss of that stigma and the shame and the guilt that we all feel, to normalise asking for help.
When you're in addiction and when you've done stuff in addiction to fund your habit, the stigma around it just makes you feel like you're not even a human. For someone to then turn around and ask you to be part of a study, ask you to go to conferences, ask you to do research and treat you like it is a disease, it is an illness, it's not your fault, you're not the scum of the earth, it gets me emotional just thinking about the difference it makes.
The people who are supposed to help me always turned me down and said that, it was regarding your mental health. They always overlooked the addiction part. But doing projects like this, now that I'm clean, it's built up my self-worth, my self-esteem. I feel like I'm worth something and I can give back to the community that's helped me.
Actually, the mental health and the sobriety, they very much go hand in hand. But a lot of services will be like, get your mental health sorted and then we can sort out the addiction, and that's not helpful.
I've been in active addiction for 20 years. This is the first time that I've actually entered any proper help, and being a part of groups where there are other women, specifically women's only groups, has been really empowering for me and has given me a hope that actually the cycle that my life has been in can be broken.
And having people speak about it and be open about it, because it does go on everywhere, just people just don't talk about it. Whereas if you've got lived experience and say, yeah, do you know what, I did do that, it's time, people need to talk about it now, because otherwise they're not going to get help and it's just going to be the same thing. People dying of alcoholism, the children being put into care, being abused, then they end up being addicts, and it's just, we need to break the cycle now, it needs to get done.
When this started out, I didn't realise actually how impactful it was going to be, And hearing it all have come together today was very powerful, knowing that I was a part of that. It just felt like the community of women doing something together useful that could help other people.
If we carry on using people with lived experience, it will help bridge that gap. Fully qualified social workers, they will be able to help people.
I think something that's really important is being matched with the right worker, because the difference that it will make to have somebody that you get on with and that you can form a bond with and trust is massive.
It is important to have researchers with different cultural backgrounds as well, because myself coming from an Asian background, it's always been really stigmatised. It's been everything swept under the rug. It's never really talked about. And to have the researchers knowing all of this information and understanding this information, it just makes things a lot easier to discuss, to understand, to generally help you better.
I'm from the LGBT community, so having workers that have an understanding of that, because some of the times when I've told stories about things that I've done, those things have been minimised because there hasn't been an understanding that that would be something so unusual for me to do as a gay woman.
It's very important to have a lived experience person come with them, because it's all about relationships, because that's how people are going to get honest, that's how people are going to open up, and then that's how people aren't going to feel used.
As a service user, you want to feel safe. You want to be able to connect with the professionals, and you don't want to continually tell your story, which is traumatic, over and over again.
Trust is massive. Being in relationship with people is massive.
When people are providing support, but also if we're conducting research, that how we engage with those communities and individuals first, and not just going there asking research questions, but building that trust, and then for people to feel familiar and confident, and not to feel judged, that we're actually here because people value our voice.
Our time should be valued. We have been through addiction. We feel devalued enough as it is, like we do it to ourselves. You want to feel normal.
Things like the parking, getting the bus fare and the vouchers, like that's a massive barrier to take away as well, because it really helps us get out. The vouchers, like you can actually do something useful.
There was a research project that some of us took part in, and it was like really personal questions that then put people off because they didn't really know what they signed up for.
It can be very tokenistic that let's get a service user there because we need to do that.
When you're talking about stuff traumatic, you can't really put that into a yes or no answer, can you? And sometimes like massive bits of information just get missed.
So no thought or no sort of how we're going to do it, what's appropriate, what's not, how we're going to support that. It's just go out and do it.
Core production is key. I've been asked questions. I felt like I've been part of every single part of the process. And yeah, it was fun.
So I think you can get research really wrong, or you can, like looking at this, get it really right.